Hello, thank you again for joining us today. My name is Nathan Rolfe. I'm the president of the Association of U.S. Cyber Forces and your host for this segment. On behalf of the Tortora Brayda Institute and the Association of U.S. Cyber Forces, I would like to welcome you to this month's episode of our Cyber Workforce Series, where we speak with cyber professionals about their careers and journeys to help inform others on the diversity of paths within the cybersecurity industry, and hopefully support you, the listener, on your own personal cyber career journey. Before we meet this month's guests, I would like to share a little bit about the two organizations that are making this series possible, the Tortora Brayda Institute and the Association of U.S. Cyber Forces. The Tortora Brayda Institute was created to promote collaboration across public and private sectors with a focus on business, culture, and diversity. Tortora Brayda looks to reshape and develop collaboration and partnering practices with a view to improving and securing business and economies. A core concept of the Institute is their think tank for partnerships in AI and cybersecurity. The think tank has allowed Tortora Brayda to bring together experts and leaders from the public and private sectors and academia around the world to reshape and develop collaboration and partnering practices while embracing the most critical technology growth. If you are not currently a member of the Institute, we invite you to visit their website at www.tortorabrayda.org to learn more and see how you can participate. The Association of U.S. Cyber Forces is a nonprofit professional association that provides the voice for members of the cyber workforce who serve in the military, government agencies, and industry on specific cyber issues impacting national security. AUSCF is an advocate for positive change to policies and programs that better serve their membership and help minimize gaps between the private and public sector cybersecurity efforts. If you would like to know or learn more about AUSCF or join our organization, please visit our website at www.auscf.org. During today's discussion, please feel free to drop questions into the chat, and as time allows, we will attempt to weave in any answers to those questions as we go through. Your questions and feedback will directly shape this and our future events. Today's guest is Anita Bhat. Anita is currently a principal member of the technical staff at Sandia National Laboratories with a demonstrated history of working in the computer and network security industry. She has a strong engineering professional skills in information assurance, configuration management, information security, and technology management. Anita has been engaged in computer science and cybersecurity programs for the U.S. government, sponsors, and national security areas of interest since 1998. She started her career teaching computer science at Hamilton College and then started her research and development career at the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory, where she worked for 12 years. She then moved to Washington, D.C. with the MITRE Corporation, working on several Department of Homeland Security programs before working with the national labs. Her current role is that of cybersecurity subject matter expert, working mainly on federal cyber defense, focusing on critical infrastructure. She was awarded a cybersecurity fellowship to the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate in Washington, D.C. in 2016. Besides her technical expertise, Anita has left a mark as a mentor. She has brought several biological, chemical, and physical scientists into the cyber realm and mentored them through the discipline as they have become proficient and independent cyber analysts, helping to grow the cadre of a new generation of cyber scientists. She is known to bring novel approaches to her analysis and has the unique ability to unpack and explain complex cybersecurity issues to a broad audience. Her impact in Sandia and on the national stage has been well established. Anita, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go ahead and start talk a little bit about your work at Sandia. I know we can't go into a lot of the details, but what exactly does it mean to be part of a technical staff at a national laboratory, and how is that different from a more traditional cybersecurity job?
With a more traditional cybersecurity job, you work on different technical parts of cybersecurity. But when we come from the federal space, from a national lab or from DHS, one of those spaces, we look at things from a much more holistic perspective. It's a systems approach that we take. So when I look at when people come to me with issues of cybersecurity, I look at what this organization is, what is their mission, what is the most important thing that they need to protect. So we call these high value assets, right? What is the thing that if it breaks or if it goes offline, you cannot perform your mission? So we look at things more holistically and then decide how to protect those high value assets.
So within that holistic look, you may be taking just that different mentality approach than you say someone working in a security operations center or doing that frontline defense. It's more about, as you mentioned, the mission set.
It's the mission side. It's a more holistic approach. So there are threat hunters, there are malware reverse engineers, there are all kinds of really specific things that people do But we take a look at it from more of a holistic approach. We need all of those, but we also need to put pieces of that puzzle together to make a whole.
To the degree that you can talk about it, what does a typical day look like for you as you're going through working with your clients on this?
So I work on many projects and weigh in on cybersecurity discussions and architectures. Like I said, my domain is broad. How should an organization approach cybersecurity? What are the baseline compliance requirements that an organization should meet? So, if nothing else, we should meet those baseline requirements. But more importantly, what should the organization do to keep themselves more secure, right? So, meeting baseline requirements is not an answer. That is what we need to do. But there's several things over and above that that we need to do to keep people safe. And we can go into more details as the half hour comes upon us.
Absolutely. So one thing when we like to look at the different roles that people play, certainly we're trying to cater to that audience that is looking to get into the cybersecurity workforce. Yours is very unique in terms of other guests that we've had on there. What are some of the, I guess, highlights or cool aspects of your job that would become attractive to someone that's looking to get into this field?
So I find my field absolutely fascinating. Everything is so dynamic and fast moving. The minute you think you've found a solution and issued a patch to fix a vulnerability, the adversary is on to something new, right? It just keeps moving. So the best part is the collaboration amongst the experts in my field, at least, because it's such a new field. We have to collaborate. The public and private sectors work so well together because there is so much expertise on both sides, and together, many of the problems are solvable. The other thing that I love about my job is mentorship. I've been a mentor to several very smart, highly educated. Our organization mainly hires PhDs in biology, physics, chemistry, psychology, the gamut. I've taken these people under my wing, and now they have become cybersecurity experts in their own right. So, like I said, everyone doesn't need to be a threat hunter, right? Or a malware reverse engineer or a network expert. One doesn't need to be an AI or machine learning expert who characterizes benign traffic to identify criminal intent. Those people are important, don't get me wrong, they play crucial roles, but cybersecurity is also much more. There's a need for those folks who can look at things from a systems perspective. We need to identify risks to an organization based on their mission. What are their most valuable assets? We call these crown jewels, sometimes high value assets. And how do we protect against just those? So we can't do everything. We can't protect everything. We can't identify everything. But if we can protect and identify and protect the things that absolutely are crucial, then we can be effective. Once we've identified those, we need to figure out how to protect them with rigor. So this argument is also important in the boardroom, right? Operational budgets are under immense scrutiny. Organizations have limited cyber budgets, and how do we help them get the bang for their buck? By doing just this, identifying the high value assets and then protecting them with rigor.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up, especially when you talk about organizations getting their money's worth out of their cybersecurity, and whether that's in-house employees or working with another entity like Sandia or your clients. Um, is that most of that investment, is that in the people? Is that in the technology that you find they need to get into? And how do you convince them where that balance is?
So it has to be both. Technology is really good, evolving fast, but we need people to implement that technology, right? And implement it correctly and intelligently. So just throwing technology at a problem is not the solution. It has to be implemented correctly. Take the simple example, a very basic example of a firewall. We can put a really fantastic firewall in place, but if it's not configured correctly, what's the point? If a firewall has all its ports wide open, if there's no monitoring, if there are no logs, there is no point in having that. So we need to have people to implement that technology correctly.
From a people perspective, as someone's looking to get into that, you are very obviously being serving as a subject matter expert. You've obviously grown up through your career and gotten into this field through a path. Did you start out with this in mind? Is this the effort that you were looking to do personally? Say, I want to be that advisor to organizations on how to implement these technologies and these solutions to solve their problems, or is this something that you kind of grew into through your career?
Gosh, to tell you the truth, this career outcome has been a complete surprise. So I've been working on information security for a very long time. I worked on secure data transfers and information sharing modalities back in the late 1990s, early 2000s. That was data security and information security at the time. But since then, the power of the internet has unleashed as we speak. Literally everyone and everything is now digitally connected. So as things got more connected, people naturally found ways to exploit this connectedness, and cybersecurity became a critical domain in the IT and OT, information technology and operational technology world, with the charter to keep legitimate users secure. So to answer your question, I was doing information security before cybersecurity was a thing. I've been working on this from the ground up and seen how this discipline has evolved over the last 25 years. I'm considered, not to call myself a dinosaur, but one of the early cybersecurity subject matter experts.
Oh, definitely appreciate the fact that you've been there. I've met other folks too, where we joked around that before it was called cyber, it was just called work.
Right.
So that's great that you've been from that point. So as you look at other individuals that may want to get into this aspect of the field, whether it's working with labs or just providing that higher level advice and guidance to a customer or client, what kind of entry level foundational path would you recommend for them? Because you can't just jump in as a subject matter expert. You need to build up. Where's a good starting point?
So I think that people can start with network security, endpoint security. Those are important starting points. You need to know the basics, but at a very basic level. You need to know what network security is. You need to know what endpoint security is. But once you have an idea of how you can secure your networks, how you can secure your devices, you can look into all the different focus areas in cybersecurity to see what tickles your fancy. There's so much out there. I'm sure there is a flavor for everyone. Like I said, if you have a basic knowledge of how networks and your devices work, then you can take a systems approach and figure out where you can fit in.
Are there any specific traits, skills, knowledge sets that you would recommend be developed above others that really put somebody at the top of their field in this regard?
So a good cybersecurity analyst, in my opinion, pays attention to detail. If one can go through the process that I detailed above, look at the mission of the organization, what is important to them, what devices, what assets are most important to them, and if they can protect those you have to look at this in a methodical fashion. If you can be methodical.
I apologize. The downside of working from home is sometimes the long guys show up when you're having a meeting like this. So I apologize for the background noise. I think we're clear.
No problem. So if one can go through the process that I detailed in a methodical fashion, I think you're bound to be successful. We found that the reason for increased hacks is plain old sloppiness. A very large number of cyber attacks can be avoided just by good cyber hygiene, right? We've seen this over and over again. Follow the basic rules, have complex passwords, change them often, don't share them. Implement multi-factor authentication. Please implement MFA. Don't click on links or open files or attachments that are not safe. So if people can just focus on these simple things, 80% of the problems can be solved, or probably.
Sorry. A lot of what you're describing goes beyond the basic technical skills that we're used to seeing. I think generally when folks are talking about cybersecurity work and those jobs, or they're thinking about the SOC analysts, the packet inspectors, the traffic analysts. Very, very, very technical in that regard. But when you describe the need to really convince leadership of an organization to change or to implement certain policies, when you talk about looking at that systems level approach to, what's the mission, what's most important, those high valued assets you talk about, I feel like it's more into the soft skills. How can someone help develop those? I mean, there's not going to be a class at the local college how to do mission analysis for cybersecurity. So how can someone really develop those soft skills that they need to be successful in this area?
Yeah, so even to this day, there is not a degree in cybersecurity, right? There are very, very few classes or courses that people can take in their formal education in cybersecurity. So most of this really comes you learn this on the job. There are some, for newer people, I think there are some courses that you can take. They have the SANS Institute, and RSA has some courses and all of those. But really, once you start working on it, you hone those skills and you sharpen them as you go. So the longer you're doing this, the better you become at it.
Are there any, you mentioned there's not a lot of formal education, but are there any ones that you would recommend, whether it's a certification or a specific focus area academically?
Not really. I've seen, people send these ads for getting degrees in cybersecurity. That seems to be a new thing. Of course, I don't look at them because I don't need a degree in cybersecurity at this point, but it comes across my radar. So I'm sure there's some of that which probably is useful. But there are courses. There are Coursera courses. The SANS Institute is really one of the top institutes that provides courses in cybersecurity. RSA is our go-to again, but those are deeply technical skills that people can hone. The other things, one of the most important things, at least from my experience in cybersecurity, is training. Training users on how to really use their digital devices. Email and chat, and there's so much of these hacks happen through those modalities, right? So training people to be intelligent when they use their systems, make sure that their chats are encrypted, maybe make sure their emails are encrypted when they're sharing sensitive information, not clicking on, not being phished. All of those are important. So training, those are soft skills that are equally important. So, there's a lot of, the companies are really good at developing technologies to detect or prevent cyber attacks. There are lots of companies that are doing this, but the soft skills is where there is a huge gap in the cyber workforce. Making sure that those technologies are implemented correctly, teaching users how to use their devices carefully, doing a lot of red teaming. Another important aspect is red teaming, right? Ethical hacking is huge. If I can hire someone to hack into my system to see where my soft spots are and where my vulnerabilities are, that's a great thing. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I want them to find where I'm vulnerable so that I can patch those holes.
Earlier, when we were going through your impressive bio, we mentioned the fact that you had actually brought over some scientists from other disciplines and brought them into, to quote the bio, into the cyber realm. Was this done out of necessity to support some of their work, or was that just kind of part of spreading that cross training and helping other people learn, as you just mentioned?
Absolutely, necessity. We need smart people to do this, right? We have a huge shortage of cyber experts in the workforce, and we have a whole bunch at our labs. We have a lot of really smart people who can do a variety of things. So if I felt that if I could teach them the domain, if I could bring them into the fold, if they can use their enormous amount of intelligence to solve these problems, it would be great. So looking at it from a systems approach, looking at it, what are the R&D things what are the really deeply technical aspects that we can research and we can find solutions for? And we were able to do this successfully.
Did when you did that kind of increase their work sphere a little bit as well? I mean, was it in addition to just that basic knowledge and understanding as a user, did you find that introduction of cybersecurity into other disciplines helped improve those disciplines for those other individuals?
I don't know if they took it back to those disciplines, but their training, the rigor that they brought from their training in the scientific field helped define what they did in the cyber realm. So, for example, I have a person who's a PhD in physics who came to us, and now he's quite the expert on zero trust. So he does a lot of zero trust work for DHS, and helps out in figuring out what needs to be done.
And that's something that we're seeing a lot more of. I mean, this whole series exists to talk about careers in cybersecurity, where that's the focus of the job. But I think we're seeing a lot more where even just fundamental skill sets apply now across the board, regardless of your career path. Is that something that perhaps there needs to be more of a foundational instruction level for any career field now that needs to be introduced?
Well, to be successful at what you do, people need to be methodical, they need to be rigorous, they need to be thorough. And some of the training in any of the sciences helps you to have those skills, right? So I know right away that people come to me with those skills already if they have a PhD in biology or physics or something. So they're trained to be rigorous and methodical. So when someone has that inherent ability to do that, it's easy to teach them the domain and then make sure that they're successful in any other domain.
Right. As you're teaching folks, of course, you want to make sure they're up to speed, and whether that's someone that's working in cybersecurity or someone that is, as you mentioned, kind of built that as a cross training to add to their repertoire. Are there any particular recommendations that you would have for someone on how they can stay the most current? As you mentioned, this landscape is ever evolving, rapidly evolving. And how do folks both in the cybersecurity job fields or those that have just added it to their capabilities really stay up to speed on what's current out there in the world?
So that question is twofold. For someone who's already in the field, someone like me, I stay current by going to conferences. I attend about 2 or 3 large ones a year. And then, of course, keeping up with what's going on. Every day, there's something new. There's some new challenge, a new solution, someone working on a new solution, etc. So keeping up with that. But for someone new, I would say the problem would be getting your foot in the door, right? Getting your foot in the door is always a challenge. But once you're in, just hanging in there, learning as much as you can. So when I bring these folks in who are not in cybersecurity into the realm, I bring them onto my team so they learn just from being on the team, attending meetings, looking at the work we do, how we approach the work, how do we solve our problems, uh, how do we find what the problem is. Half the time it's defining what the problem is, honing down the particulars, the specifics of the problem is very difficult. When someone comes with, okay, I've been hacked, but what is it that has been hacked? What exactly happened? What are the particulars, and how do we get out of the situation? So looking at it from that kind of a systems approach, I think people just learn from being on teams, doing it over and over again. You learn quickly that way.
What are some of the trends that you're starting to see that are both influencing the industry as a whole, and also, you mentioned the difficulty of getting the foot in the door of, what's influencing the ability for people to really break into this career field?
The influence is the shortage. The more difficult question is, how does one get in the door? That is tough. If you don't have something that you've already done that you can show, it's difficult. Once you're in an organization, it's easy to pivot into cybersecurity. So I would say, whatever work you're doing, if you can somehow pivot, and if there is a team that's already doing cybersecurity, that's the way to learn.
As a with learning and as a mentor yourself to others that you work with, do you have any particular advice for how someone can seek out a mentor within the workforce, or even at a slightly outside the cybersecurity lane for those softer skills to really help bring their skill sets up?
Well, you have to find someone that you can connect with. Connect meaning, you have a good rapport with, you have a good where you can have a good conversation, and that person is willing to take you on, to show you the ropes, to help you along your career path. Um, that's not easy. Everyone's busy. No one has the additional half hour a week to do this. But if you can find that person, I think you're good. And that's the reason that I think that I've given so much of my career to mentoring, because there's not that much of it that happens. And unless we really make a concerted effort to incubate the new generation of a cyber workforce, it's not going to be easy.
I think you hit on a key problem, which is time available. And certainly mentoring someone takes away from whatever the regular job is, but it's absolutely important. As a younger person, maybe younger is not the right answer. Maybe a newer person into this field, doesn't matter what age they are. Um, is there a particular way they can approach a potential mentor to demonstrate that they have the passion or they have the drive necessary to make it worth that mentor's time?
I can speak to this from the perspective of working on teams, right? When I when I have a team and someone really stands out because of their inquisitiveness, because of their passion, they show enthusiasm, they show rigor, and they are thorough in their work, I automatically bring them on and take them. There are several people in my organization that I take to every single project that I work on. And if they don't have the time, I beg. I say, you've got to come to my project, because these are people that I know I can lean on. They're rigorous, they're thorough, they won't let me down. So if you can prove to other people that you are enthusiastic and you're passionate about what you do, I think that's the bottom line.
All right. We're getting up towards the end of our time here. There's one question I like to ask every one of our guests, and you mentioned how your career very changed quite a bit over time. If you could go back, if you could go back to the beginning, is there anything that you would do differently and why?
Oh gosh, no. Like I said, this whole career path has been such a surprise that I don't know. I didn't have a plan when I started out. I went into computer science only because there was only one college in the town that I lived in, upstate New York, that offered graduate work. My original degree is in psychology, sociology, and economics. I never thought I'd do computer science. But that was the only opportunity that was available to me. A master's in computer science was the only one available in that city. So I got another bachelor's in computer science and did my master's. So yeah, it's just go where the opportunities arise. If something presents itself, go for it and see where it takes you.
Excellent. Um, if someone wanted to reach out to you, I think we're showing up on the screen right now. Your LinkedIn profile. Is there any other ways that folks can reach out if they want to connect with you and talk more about your path, or seek that mentorship that you provide?
Well, LinkedIn would be a good way to go. And I hope that if someone's really interested in this, they really pursue it and keep at it, because boy, do we need them.
Absolutely, and that's one of the areas that I think we're all looking for is how do we help close that gap. So we are, I think, coming up on the end of our half-hour session. As with all these conversations, I wish we had a lot more time. And thank you, Anita. I want to really thank you for bringing your experience to the community and sharing your background with us. And as we already discussed, if anyone that wishes to reach out to you, the LinkedIn profile was pushed up there. Um, do you have any final closing remarks for anyone that is listening on just what they like to do for the cyber career field?
No, I really thank this effort particularly. I think these two institutes that are sponsoring this really are doing a noble deed by trying to bring more people into the workforce. There's such a critical need, not just for this country, but just in the world, because this space is getting really uncomfortably dangerous. And we need to let legitimate users use digital devices the way they should to benefit society, right? Not the other way around. So this is crucial. Thank you for doing this.
Excellent. Thank you again, Anita. Appreciate your time and being with us today. And for those watching or listening on discussion, thank you as well. As a reminder, today's discussion will be posted and available via Tortora Brayda and AUSCF's websites on their YouTube channels. The Tortora Brayda Institute and Association with Cyber Forces are committed to reshaping and empowering diverse collaboration and developing the cyber workforce, which, as mentioned, is definitely a critical need. And this is the reason why we do what we do. So we hope today's conversation has helped you, the listener, on your cyber professional development path. And on behalf of Tortora Brayda and AUSCF, thank you, and we look forward to you joining us on our next cyber workforce discussion. And Anita, thank you again.
Thank you.